Okay, welcome back. Solo roll Mangging, Shadowdark, Terra Invictus. We had a fairly good start to this sort of campaign. We killed a giant eagle, which was certainly a bit above our pay grade, I think, all things considered. But we got a little lucky, sort of. We could have gotten luckier because one person did die. But I think we got an upgrade because we got Mithrix now, who's a snow elf, 18 AC, 8 hit points, and can cast Cure Wounds, so it's all good. We also level up the other 3 to level 2, which didn't get us a massive amount of stuff. Levels aren't absurdly important in Shadowdark. But Xandor did pick up Magic Missile, which is awesome. We then traveled west from Moryu to the town of Hoolgate. Let's see, that would be 12, 18, like 20 miles away or so. We went by foot instead of just taking fast travel. And it was good that we did, because we picked up a new quest. And we bought horses, and that was it. I think that was it. And then in Hoolgate, we got some +2 damage arrows for Riddiger. We then traveled southwest of Hoolsgate to 3122, where we found this burial mound. This big burial mound with trees all over it. It's dedicated to Saint Erlix. And we found a human pilgrim kneeling in prayer there, who we just kind of let sit. I mean, he's doing his thing. That's where we ended, because I couldn't decide how they wanted me to do random encounter checks. Shadowdark does not have enough real information to make an informed decision about how you're meant to do stuff when you're traveling, and just not traveling, I guess. So I went on the subreddit, and it did not take long for me to get a good answer from Kelsey herself. And now that I, read that, I recalled reading a while back, probably that exact same post. Because I remember reading that there were other people not happy with the hex-crawling rules in Shadowdark. And thus, that brings us to Cursed Scroll number 4. And that post was from like 7 months ago, and she posted just like an early preview of the hex crawling rule update. But now the full thing is out, so we can read that. Actually, I don't think it's actually out. This is from the Kickstarter. But yes, now we have this hex crawling page of rule updates. Hexes are 6 miles across. You can enter a number of hexes per day based on your travel method. So it's actually not doubled for horses, which is a decision. That's a change, because it was doubled in the original version. If we go off of Axe, just as an example, horses, medium riding horses, have a speed of 60. Just to get a little bit more nerdy with it. Which would be, assuming you're weighed down with almost nothing as a human. Like, you're carrying very little. That's about a 50% boost. So I suppose in that case, yes, horses would be 50% faster. Usually, though, and that would be your whole party is basically like wearing and carrying nothing. Usually you're going to have someone above at 8 or 9 stone, usually the fighter with heavier armor and shit. So that means usually a party in Axe is traveling on foot at about 12 miles per day. In which case horses would be 3 times as fast. And I think, Well, it is what it is. And we're following Shadowdark rules, so that's the new rules. We can travel 6 hexes per day mounted. Which is actually a big bump. And I thought these numbers were crazy. Because you're traveling... Well... No, I get... Yeah, well... Honestly, though, I thought these were crazy initially, but then... Obviously, in Axe, like I just said, if the slowest person in your party is traveling 12 miles per day, that's 2 hexes. And that's what you're traveling per day on foot. So, honestly, most of the time in Axe, that does align with this. But I would say mounted, then, is a lot faster. So now walking got bumped up quite a bit. It got double the speed. So now you can travel 4 hexes per day walking and 6 while mounted. So horses aren't as drastically good, but they are still good. So that's all fine. Here's the big update, though, and why we went into this. Check for a random encounter twice a day and twice overnight, with 1/6 chance each time. And someone asked what happened to risky, unsafe, risky, and deadly. And she explained that it really wasn't worth the trouble. You know, it's not as big of a deal if you're just running a pre-written thing like here and it's risky and blah, blah, blah. But yeah, to always constantly have to reference, okay, is this risky? Is this unsafe? How often? Blah, blah, blah. If you're just doing a sandbox campaign of your own sort of improvisation. Yeah, she basically said that it wasn't really worth the trouble, and it's better to differentiate how dangerous a region is more by the actual random encounters. You know, what's in the random encounter table and stuff like that. A dangerous area has more dangerous encounters, not that they happen more often. That's mostly something I would say I agree with, and something Axe agrees with, because if you look at the frequency for the different types of areas, civilized, borderlands, outlands, and unsettled, no matter what, it's always once per 6 mile hex. Like, the frequency does not go up. If you're searching, it's the same thing, once per hour. It does go up at nighttime, though. So that is one change, but that's really, like, almost the only change, except for if you're in completely unsettled territory, you do have to check once during the day if you're just stationary. But still, I mean, this is the big one, and that never changes. So it's more about how dangerous it is, how much more likely you're to run into monsters or dangerous terrain and things like that. So I think that's a good idea. I think there's a lot of sense being made here, and I like it, so we'll go with it. Difficult terrain, such as swamps, jungle, or mountains, require 2 hexes to enter. It's a bit of a weird phrasing, I suppose, but yeah, it basically requires, you know, 2 of your 4 hex count for the day to enter. Can't enter impossible terrain, such as lava lakes or sheer cliffs. I like that it has to say that. But yes. It says a PC can forage for 1 ration a day during travel with an int check. That's pretty generous then compared to like Tales of Argosa. This allows everyone a pretty decent chance. I mean, everyone basically 50% chance or so to not consume a ration every day. I find it funny that she felt the need to put in this text, which seems pretty obvious, but then didn't say that, like, you can't forage in certain types of terrain, or there's like a penalty in certain types of terrain, which again I would say is kind of obvious, but you know, I don't know. Also, at the start of the day, the PCs can choose to push to multiply their hexes per day by 1.5 times, increase the random encounter chance by 1/6 that day, and you can't forage. So it would be a 1 or a 2 in 6. But honestly, that's not that bad. Especially if you're in like relatively good terrain. Like if we were traveling between Maru and Hoolgate, Although we wouldn't really need to now because that would be a 1-day trip. Of 1, 2, 3, 4 hexes done. So we wouldn't even need to push. But yeah, I mean, that sort of thing. Maybe if you're going to Landre or something. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, never mind. Anyways, those are the rules. So that's twice a day and twice overnight. That's maybe the trickier one. That one's a little questionable. Because that's if you're traveling during the night, I would say, well, yeah, absolutely 100%. But just resting overnight, that seems a little harsh. I feel like it could have benefited from one extra line that said twice overnight if you're traveling, once per night if you're camping, but maybe the intention is twice overnight while camping. Again, a lot of encounters might be just nothing in that case, you know. A lot of, and it's especially if you're reading a module, anytime it mentions in a random encounter table that there's wild animals like wolves or something, like those should almost never attack you, especially at night at a campfire and everything. Like it should really be, come up with something better, like come up with some monster or something. Wild animals don't really do stuff like that almost ever. And yeah, it's a fantasy world. You can do whatever you want, I guess, if your players really want to fight wolves or something. But I don't know. I think there can be more interesting encounters. Either way, I don't think that we can do a dedicated day of digging here. So we're going to have to just camp out here for the day. So we're going to roll another encounter check. And then I guess, according to the rules, we're going to roll another 2 for the night. So let's roll our 1 check for the day. We got one. And it's 5. 2 blindfolded corpses, throats cut with longswords discarded nearby. So, we're just stationary, so this doesn't make a whole lot of sense. Most random encounter tables are written as if you were traveling, which is understandable. I mean, it's obviously going to be the more likely time. Most groups are not stationary while out in the world. They're generally moving to do something. So this one, I would say, happened just shortly after we arrived. We were exploring around the burial mound or something like that, and we found these 2 blindfolded corpses with their throats cut and their longswords discarded nearby. Well, if we wanted a longsword, we could take it. I guess Crundle could have a backup. Sure, I guess I'll take a backup longsword. I'm not above doing such things. That's fine. Now, this is obviously, I think, another clue towards the Eye Tyrant. We know that the hobgoblin we met, who informed us about the Eye Tyrant's existence, was one-eyed. And he said that the Eye Tyrant can see through his followers' eyes. So, there's a lot of stuff going on with eyes. I don't know if these were... Maybe these were deserters or something, or black. You know, they wanted out. Maybe they got their eyes cut out and they were like, "Well, wait a minute, fuck this shit, we're out of here," and so they got executed. I don't know. It's hard to say. It doesn't say if their eyes are still present or not. It just says they were blindfolded. So maybe they didn't get their eyes cut out, but they were executed for some other reason, ritually. Hard to say. It obviously wasn't like this wasn't bandits, you know. Bandits would take the longswords and they wouldn't have blindfolded them. They wouldn't have bothered, probably. So, hard to say. But okay. Now, yeah, we didn't do any foraging this turn, this day, because I didn't know about that rule. So we're just going to consume our 4 rations. So we'll consume these 3. And Mithrix will consume another one of hers. And then our 2 encounters overnight. We're good. We're fine. Fresh day. I probably should roll for weather. Check the weather each day by rolling a d6. On a 1, the weather is bad. Normal terrain becomes difficult. There's a 3 in 6 chance of a storm occurring, which reduces visibility to near. On a 6, the weather is excellent. Roll the next weather with advantage. Otherwise, it's just pleasant for the region, I suppose. Alright, it's pleasant for the region. Now we're going to be doing a day of determined digging. We have to make a con check versus DC 18. It doesn't really specify if that's per participant or as a group, so I'm assuming it's a group based on our highest con roll, which I think is... yeah, Crundle at +2. That's not a super high chance. We might be here a while. Yeah, we're going to be here a while. So we got 2 checks during the day, 2 checks during the night. We got 1 during the night. Probably nothing. Most of these don't really make much sense, like an abandoned copper mine. So there's really not much in here, even though it's risky. The only one that's really going to be a problem or something is going to be the 2 goblin tomb raiders trying to enter the tomb. So unless that comes up, I think we can just keep passing by days. But we only have so many rations out here. So that's another day of... we weren't foraging, we were all digging, so it's another day of rations. Another day of rations. She ticks off another one. Gone. New day. Another roll of con. Aha! We did it! We got it. We drilled through the side of the burial mound. I mean, I don't know what we were using to go into. It says grave robbers have dug a few holes, so maybe we found some discarded pickaxes. The tomb interior is a single room with plain furnishings. It has not been plundered, but is defended by a scarab swarm. Oh boy. So we burst through and we go in. Someone's gonna have to light a torch, which is Xandor. So we're just gonna have to light this. And we step into this musty, dusty burial mound. And out pops scarabs, just like the fucking mummy movies. That's not gonna be good. A chittering cloud of iridescent oval-shaped beetles. Okay, it's not too bad. They have 13 AC, 14 hit points. They get 2 bite attacks at +3 for 1d6 damage. It's pretty bad, but not the worst. There's only one of them. If it was a group of them, then we'd be in trouble. So, yeah, they get a +3. All right, they only rolled 5 on the initiative. We may have spooked them a bit. All right, excellent. We get to go first. Yeah, Xandor's going to just magic missile them. It's guaranteed damage. Yep, there it is. 1d4, 2 damage. All right, they are down to 12 hit points. Rittiger is going to shoot his short bow, this special new arrows. He critically fumbled, so that's bad. The only critical fumble rules, the only fumble rules I use for a combat is if you're in melee, they get to make a free attack. And if you're in ranged, they get to make a free attack if they have a ranged attack. That's it. Fumbles are annoying. So that's all I do. It's very simple. It keeps things moving. Mithrix is going to be moving in with Crundle. And they're both going to be swinging. So she gets her mace attack. That is a miss. And he gets his longsword attack. He also fumbled. Now there, they do get the free attack. Just 1, though. They hit, for sure. 1d6 damage. Biting Crundle. Alright. They get to go. They are now going to attack Crundle once and Mithrix once. So, Crundle. Miss. Mithrix. Miss. This is why we have insane AC. Now, if this were a different game, like, I don't know, Pathfinder or 3.5 or something like that, this would be a much more annoying and difficult fight. but it's not, and it's just this. That's the round, so we need a new initiative for us. That's 14. For them, 21. They're going to repeat the same attack. Against Krundle. Miss. Against Mithrix. Hit. 1d6. Ouch! He's almost dead already. Alright, Riddiger is going to move in with his dagger to support Krundle, who wants the advantage. So he's just going to make a melee attack. That is a hit, my friend. We already did 2 damage, so 7 hit points left. He's going to Mage Missile. Success. Down to 5 hit points. Krundle gets advantage because he's got 2 allies in melee. That's... Now I don't remember. Usually I'm pretty good at this. Where were they at? They were at 14. Then they were at 12. Then they were at 8. I feel like I'm forgetting a number here. I thought they were at 7 at some point. Fuck. Damn, I'm usually better at this. And it's really hard to tell. Because, well, it shouldn't be that hard to tell. I'm not doing any damage that's not one of our attack rolls. Other than Magic Missile. So, 2 damage brings them down to 12. Then... This brings them down to 8. This brings them down to 6. This brings them down to 3. They're at 3, and Mithrix gets to go. So she'll try to swing her mace. That's a kill. Scarabs are done. Easy peasy, lemon squeezy. Alright, she is immediately going to heal herself with Cure Wounds. And she will fail the roll. Losing that for the whole day... Yeah, it's fine. I think we're probably going to rest anyways. Again, when you have nowhere to be, and you're in a safe area, it's not really that big of a deal. I guess it's another ration, but I think we're probably going to go back to town anyways. Right, inside the sarcophagus, we find a steel shield encased in protective wax, Saint Erlix's bones, and a jeweled staff valued at 900 gold. There are also 12 gear slots of small copper religious symbols that could be sold for 10 gold pieces per gear slot, if they're carried out. Ah, boy. Well. It's really hard to say, I gotta say. I mean... I think it's one of the more common questions is like, how much XP do you give out? It's so much easier to just do gold as XP, done. Like, rather than this, like, arbitrary system of trying to assign it based on vague values and stuff. This person says, what's worth 1 XP should change as your players earn and save more gold. In a brand new campaign, finding a pouch of 5 gold might be worth 1 XP. Finding 500 gold is prized and worth 3 XP. But for level 5 adventurers, 5 gold should be worth 0, and 100 gold to 500 gold might be the new 1 XP standard. That certainly sort of makes sense, but you're still falling into these vagaries that just is like... It's like vibe DMing is what it is. And again, like, it's just gold as XP cannot be simpler. You get the XP based on the gold. Done. And, you know, it's just, you need more and more of it to level up as you keep leveling up, like any RPG ever, including Shadowdark. There's no ambiguity. I think that's the thing with Shadowdark, is there's just always so much ambiguity. And like I keep saying, it doesn't bother me that much when I'm DMing. It just is more of a solo thing. So I could have done just gold as XP here and called it a day, but we certainly wouldn't have been level 2. I don't think we got that much gold. No, for 4 characters, I would have needed 8,000 gold. But I don't know. Don't know if this is lowered to account for Shadowdark's lower gold values, you know? Because everyone says, like, okay, again, just to, so I'm not making this up. If I search converting, VX modules converted to Shadowdarks. Loot, one YouTube video says divide gold by 10. Loot, the divide by 10 method doesn't always work, but it's a good estimate. For gold, I would use divide by 10 as a guideline. Divided by 10 works well for treasures. Right, so compared to a BX module, generally that's the baseline you do, is you divide, if it's 100 gold, it's now 10 gold. I don't know if he did that really for this whole thing. Maybe he went through. But I also find that hard to believe that in the original version of this, or if I was running it for a, you know, with Tales of Argosa or whatever, OSE, that this would be valued at 9,000 gold. That seems really high for just something sitting in a one-room dungeon in the middle of a farmland, or not farm, but in the middle of a relatively friendly area. So this thing's really a weird outlier. I don't know how much XP to give for this thing. I wish I did know. I wish someone would just tell me. I wish I had a DM here. Just tell me. Incredible, prized, well guarded. I mean, I guess that describes it. It's not mythic or unique or anything. And I suppose if those are the only 4 categories, there's nothing in between 3 and 10, then it has to be worth 3 XP. So it's worth 3 XP. And we also find the 12 gear slots of small copper. I'll say however many we take, it's just going to be worth 1 XP. So I'm giving 4 to the group for this discovery. So Crundle's at 8, Mithrix is at 9, they're at 7. Yeah, and then we have to grab the jeweled staff. Worth 900 gold. And the nuggets, or the copper religious symbols. 10 each. Sure. Copper religious symbols. 10. There's how many? 12. Okay, we can definitely carry all these. You can carry 2. Crundle can just carry enough to fill up his bags. He's got 8, that's 10. We just need 2 more. Here you go. Done. Packed up and ready to go. we'll say that was sort of an end of the day thing, so we'll camp out one more night here. We will consume more rations. Rations, done, done, done. Overnight encounters, nothing. So now, next day, we're going to move on. If I were actually DMing, as usual, I would actually have a calendar here and keep track of things, but I don't think it makes too much of a difference, considering, again, I don't know the clocks. I don't know what I would keep track of time for the most part, unless something comes up that does matter for time. So now we're going to go back the way we came here, which is just 1 hex away. So I guess I can roll 1 random encounter check on our way out. There you go. And it's a 3. A family of martens preying on voles. Their pelts sell for 40 gold if hunted. No, we're pretty loaded up. I just want to get back to town because she's pretty beat up. Oh no, she's healed now. We rested overnight. And he's healed. But no, we're fine. We can just move on. Mostly because I don't know what the fuck a marten is. Oh, the little weasel-like mammal. And they're preying on voles, which are little rodents like hamsters. Okay, yeah, we're not gonna worry about that, I suppose. Because that could lead to who knows what. Well, unless you just say, like, oh, okay, we hunt them. Oh, okay, here you go, you get 40 gold. That's so, like... it's just not what I do. Because I would have, I mean, I can't hand wave that sort of, like, I'd have to go for axe and go to, like, the butchering, the skinning table. They're pretty small, right? Let's see, how much does a marten weigh? They weigh, like, the yellow-throated maybe is a bit bigger. So I'll be nice and say 10 pounds. So that means it takes 10 minutes to skin one. Its pelt is not going to be worth fucking shit. Yeah. 0.0265 pounds each. That is a very light pelt. And that's how much gold it's worth each. So how many of these martens would it take to get up to 40? 40 gold. I mean, I guess it says pelts can be cut and sewn into rugs, capes, and coats, or stuffed and mounted as trophies. The value and encumbrance of rugs, capes, coats, and trophies is based on the pelt used. So assuming someone's making a coat of these things, I would imagine. 1d6 times 10 times this value. So let's say times 30 for the value of this. Okay, we're getting there. The number of pelts required is 3 divided by the pelt weight. Right. $113 martens to make a coat. I guess a rug would be a lot easier. Or maybe, okay, maybe 56 of them to make a cape. But then that's worth less. Yeah. So I mean, the cape, a Martin cape is worth 3 silver according to Axe. But it does say monster pelts with particularly rare, durable, warm, or striking fur are more valuable. In general, such fur pelts are worth 5 gold pieces per stone of encumbrance or more. But we're a long ways off from 1 stone of encumbrance. I mean, yeah, it would take like... I don't know, yeah, like 35 or something pelts to equal 1 stone. It does say particularly rare fur pelts are worth as much as 100 gold pieces per stone. So at the end of the day, I guess, sure. If we want to hunt down, say, 35 martens, skin them all, and again, it'll take 10 minutes to skin 1, assuming we know what we're doing. And they have to be killed in 1 attack, but I think in this case that wouldn't be a problem. So 35, so that would be 350 minutes to skin them all, assuming 1 person is doing it. No, not 10. 350 divided by 60. Yeah, a little under 6 hours to skin all these things. And that's the actual, not even getting into the actual act of killing 35 martens, who seem like they're probably a little elusive to actually hunt down and kill. I feel like this would be a multiple day process to get enough. And would you really want to? I don't know, man. But this is what I'm talking about when I say that I knew I was going to struggle to hand wave some stuff. Because according to the rules of Terra Invictus, this takes an hour. Or maybe 2. And you just say, okay, 2 hours go by, we roll a random encounter check. Okay, you're fine, you have all your pelts, you get 40 gold and an XP. It's just like, no, I can't. Anyways, we arrive back at Hool Gate. Hand waved, baby. And we sell treasure, including the jeweled staff. Again, there's no, talk about hand waving. There's no stipulations of what you can buy or sell in any region. The DM could say, no one's going to buy that here. But there's nothing. And I don't even know if Shadowdark ever even mentions something like that of what it takes to sell your treasure. It's such like a, it's another thing of just like, it doesn't have anything to do with a dungeon? Well, go fuck yourself. You don't need any rules for that. Figure it out yourself, asshole. We only care about dungeons here. We're all about dungeons. So no, there's no... I mean, maybe there's information somewhere about... It says, characters can sell most treasure based on its material value, but they may need to find a curio collector to offload strange or obscure items. That's the only guideline you get. I don't think a jeweled staff is strange or obscure. It's gems, and I think they would count gems as being pretty normal, so... Yeah, there's no guidance in Shadowdark for that. I don't even know if there's guidance in, like, OSE, though, for, like, selling stuff. Tail de Ragosa talks about the black market trade. But that's for, like, illegal goods or services. Technically, we did rob a grave, so it's very much illegal, but yeah, even still, I don't think there's... Most games just don't worry about that. You get the treasure back to town, you're done. That's not how I like to play. It's not how I like to DM. And my players are well aware of that. I mean, they're playing in a campaign right now where they're in a very... Their home base is a very rural, small settlement, and the biggest town is like 2 weeks away by foot. So that's been a concern, but I do have this, like, somewhat magical merchant that comes by every, like, couple weeks or so, and they can offload some stuff onto her. Not everything they might find, but a lot of things. And she has magic items sometimes and stuff like that. But yeah, it's just yeah, okay, fine. We sell the jeweled staff. We sell all this, and it's gonna ask if we're sure every time. I am quite sure, thank you. Alright, we got some gold there. He is carrying a lot of coins, even though it doesn't show his coins here. The slots are taken up. So I'm not sure what's up with that, but he definitely got 900 coins. So we're going to be carousing again. I mean, Mithrix, I guess, could do the religious thing, the act of devotion, if she wanted to be separate. But the thing is, it's like... It's not really better? Unless you're doing some major stuff with, like, religion and all that in the region and blah blah blah. I think I'll stick with the normal carousing, because that way we can lump all our money into it and get the biggest bonus. We can do the 900 gold right there for a +4, a hazy week-long bender. A week-long bender. Yeah, okay, so we'll spend the 900 gold. And we all get to roll with +4. Alright. So we'll go clockwise again. Mithrix around down. It's a D8 +4. Mithrix gets 9. Riddiger gets 7. Xandor gets 10. And Krundle gets 5. Ouch. Ah, well, it happens to the best of us. We could have gotten a 12, which would have been nice. But it is what it is. Mithrix with her 9. By talent, 50%, or trickery 50%. You beat a rival crawler in a test of skill. Gain 5 XP and an NPC ally or enemy. Well, which one was it? It was through talent. I don't think that necessarily dictates whether it's an ally or enemy. Unless they respect talent, and if they find out you tricked them, it's like, oh, you're my enemy. It's one of those things that I'm aware that I'm not a good enough DM to really take advantage of. You know, it's one of those things that... Yeah, you know, I read stories all the time about people and their campaigns, and they have, like, recurring characters and recurring villains and stuff like that. But it's just like, I always feel like there's so much to juggle, and I'm a very passive DM. You know, the players tell me what they're doing. I tell them what the consequence or reaction is. Introducing, stuff like that, where it's like, okay, I have to now drive this plot, sort of, you know, quotation mark, plot forward myself and introduce these things. I always struggle with doing that. So you could just roll up a rival crawler pretty easily and come up with little stats about it. I mean, they have this sheet here. But I don't know, especially solo, what I'd even do with it, really. If I was DMing and that result came up, they were carousing, I would feel obligated to try to come up with something, but having them be reoccurring, it's a lot easier if it's an ally. If it's an ally, then the players are more likely to maybe try to get something out of them, and if they don't, then it's like, oh, okay, well, you know, too bad you never called me, sort of thing. Where if it's an enemy, then the impetus is more on the DM to, like, make them an enemy and have them come up. Otherwise, it's just like, okay, somewhere out there I have an enemy. Oh, this torch got used up. So I guess if I were to roll someone up, it would be an elf. She's a snow elf. I suppose that makes sense. It would be an elf wizard. Lawful. Renown level. Locally known. The secret. They are in debt to the Thieves Guild. And the wealth level would be extravagant. Okay, that doesn't make much sense. If he's so extravagantly wealthy, why is he in debt? Maybe it's not a money debt. Maybe it's a blood debt. I think, though, I suppose it's easier to just say that we made friends with this person, and that could be a plot hook then, that this crawler has a blood debt to the Thieves Guild, and we're friends now. So maybe I scratch your back, you scratch mine, and you help me out with my blood debt to the Thieves Guild, and I'll give you a minor magic item or something. I don't know, something like that. So that was Mithrix, who got 5 XP, which is definitely enough to level. So now she's back down to 4. Riddiger rolled 3, so that was 7. Another famous bard ally. Of course, maybe it's the same one, or maybe they're a dime a dozen. But Riddiger gets 4 up to 11. Xandor rolled a 10, so he also deflected a spell off of his cup. Yeah, funny how this is the problem with, like, this limited carousing table. It's just going to keep coming up. And they're like, well, you know, just write your own carousing table. And it's like, no, I'm not going to do that. So Xandor gets 5 XP and a luck token. I don't think he needs one, but I'm pretty sure... No, none of us do. Okay. Fine. And then poor Crundle got a 5. You're fined 10% of your total wealth for starting a full tavern brawl. 3 XP, and he's now barred from the tavern. Okay. That's annoying. But alright, he's fine. Yeah, I mean, Axe has... Well, I don't know if it has carousing. No, I don't think it has carousing. But it has the... It has the reserve XP fund, I know, and it has heroic funerals, but I don't think it has carouse. Because yeah. Carousing just puts it into the XP fund, which is just for future characters. So it's pretty simple. I mean, you just put an amount of gold in, and 90% of that value goes to your fund for any future characters you start with. They get to start with that amount of XP. Yeah, carousing is just a thief hijink you can perform. All manner of consortium with barkeeps, gossips, harlots, junglers, tavern wenches, and others unsavory characters. You get to learn one valuable rumor, blah, blah, blah. Yeah, okay, any. Right. Terra Ghost, I'm almost certain has carousing, though. A minimum of 20 gold is required, triggering a D100 roll. Many of the entries below will benefit from further elaboration. You get 1 XP for every 20 gold spent, up to 5 XP at level 1 to 3, 10 at 4 to 6, 20 at 7 to 9. So that's not any variability then in how much XP you get. You're always going to know exactly how much you get by how much you're spending. But the event that happens is going to vary wildly based on this big D100 table. So that's good. I don't know if... Does he have any different carousing tables here? Yeah, he technically does, because he introduces the Axe of Devotion here, just like in Terra Invictus. But then he also has combat training, which is just the sort of warrior version of it. It's similar, but yeah, obviously the outcomes are a bit different. You can gain knight allies or knight rivals, a thug ally. You might actually gain max HP from this one. Yeah. Might have been better to just roll on that. Just because the +1 max HP is a pretty nice possibility. But I digress. Let's level up Mithrix. So that's going to be a... What was she? A monk? She's a monk. So she gets an extra D6 hit points. 1. God damn it. Now, I gotta say, that is a bad system. And I think they should go with the actual OSE system, like the old school way, where at a new level, you roll you roll your hit dice. So Mithrix would now roll 2d6. And if it's a higher result, that's her new hit points. Otherwise, she goes up by 1. I'm pretty sure that's the OSE system. If we wanted to check Axe. Although good, that's under XP. Reroll the character's hit point using his new number of hit dice, adding his constitution bonus or penalty to each die rolled. That's so much more generous. Why is Shadowdark so stingy with hit points? That's crazy. Because the way that works out, the Axe way, the old school way, the proper way, is that it evens out over time. Like, you might have a shitty roll. You might have a couple shitty rolls. But then, you know, like, say you have level 2, you botch it, and you gain 1 hit point. Level 3, you botch it, you gain 1 hit point. Level 4, though, you're rolling 4d8 or something, and say you've botched it a few times and you only have 10 hit points. You should get a big bump pretty soon, unless it's just a string of terrible luck. But even then, you're adding your con mod to each dice roll. So if you have a good con, you're like guaranteed to have good hit points. Here, especially because, oh god, especially because you don't normally get max hit points at level 1. That was a custom thing I rolled. But theoretically, Krundle could have had 3 hit points, and then every single level he gains 1 hit point if I roll terribly. That's it. I mean, he could end at level like 9 with, I don't know, 11 hit points if he actually survived that far. It is absurdly, like, bad. It's just bad. I don't approve of it at all. It's not at all good. And that's why, at least partly, starting with max HP is a pretty common rule. And there's all sorts of different rulings people have. Here. Oh, look at this interesting way to roll HP that I found. Anyone seen this before? Upon gaining a new level, each character rolls all the hit dice together, adding or subtracting the COD mod once. Wow, this crazy way of calculating hit points. And this is the evergreen response in Shadowdark, in OSC, in BX, in AD&D, anything, any old school style game. This is the evergreen response that you can reply to basically any mention of changing a rule. It's just, you get what you get, too bad, work around it. And it's it's like, okay, I mean, if I made an RPG where every character had 1 hit point, if you got hit by anything, you're dead, and I just put that in the rule book and I said, yeah, that's the rule, work around it, try and survive. Yeah, some people might enjoy that. Many people would not enjoy that. And obviously we can see, just based on how many discussions there are and things like that about hit points and about other aspects of Shadowdark, modifications and house rules, it's like a lot of people don't like the idea of just like, you get hit because you didn't roll well enough on your hit dice and you're dead. Yeah, so I mean, again, it's like, Shadowdark is pretty broadly, like, compatible with old school stuff, right? I mean, the monsters are always the kind of question mark and stuff of how similar they are, stuff. But like, if we look at the goblin, 11 AC is pretty standard. 5 HP is pretty standard. Although I think Axe has them at 3. They get a slight hit point buff. 1d4 damage with the club. They can use short bow. Like, it's... yeah, I mean, it's a pretty standard thing. If we look at something beefier, like a hobgoblin. 15 AC, 10 hit points. They get +3 to their attack for 1d8. Beastmen, yeah. 13 AC. They'd get 9 hit points. No, sorry. They'd get like 5 hit points. And they'd swing like, yeah, +1 really. So Shadowdark definitely makes this beefier, which really only reinforces the point. Like, there's the complaint here at the bottom, like, if you had godlike rolls, you could hit closer to 80 hit points. That's double the intended? And it's like, I don't think it's that ridiculous. You're a level 10 D&D character. You probably have a fucking armory of magic items and things like that. And like, 80 hit points is not that insane. And that's assuming you had, like he said, godlike rolls. It's like never really gonna happen. Because that would mean at level 10, for your 10th level, you roll 10 d8. And you roll like 10 8s. Like, that's not gonna happen. So, you know, it's gonna average out to 45, as it says. And 45 hit points for a level 10 character is really not that crazy. Because an axe character is going to have more than that, really. Because they get to add their constitution bonus to every die they roll. So if they have like a +2 con mod at level 10, they could have a lot. I mean, they would average of 45 plus 20. They have 65 on average. So they can have 100. And these things don't hit as hard. So I don't know. It's hard to say. Monster HP too high. It's another thing. Yeah, I mean, yeah, we saw even the lowest, like, the goblin has higher hit points on average than an actual old school thing. Although the orc has 4, which is interesting. Which now really makes me question why an orc has less hit points than a goblin. In what fucking world does that make any sense? What? I never even noticed that before. Why the fuck does an orc have less hit points than a goblin? Why do goblins have 5 hit points? What? Okay, I'm gonna just say, I'm gonna say we live in a world where this was a typo. This must have been a typo, because ain't no way. That has to be 3. That's meant to be 3. If he changes the 3, it's pretty on par with the axe and the standard goblin that we are all familiar with. But then, yeah, I mean, you look at these other, like the goblin boss has fucking 20 hit points. I don't know where you get that out of a goblin. Even the chieftain here is listed at 16. Which I guess is a similar sort of role. Yeah, like, it's the goblin chieftain, it's the goblin boss. He's the head of the whole lair. Not meant to be just thrown around. Yeah, he's the big guy. But then the shaman has 19 hit points, which is also very high. So yeah, I think across the board, Shadowdark does have higher hit points on practically everything. For some reason. Perhaps that's to compensate somewhat for class abilities and getting like weapon mastery and being able to do more damage and things like that. That could be, but you don't get a strength bonus for attacks or anything. I mean, obviously, Tales of Argosa is its own category because you get a lot of damage bonuses and can do exploits and stuff. But I think their monsters also tend to be a little higher on hit points too, even though I don't really use their monsters, which maybe is part of why I find the game easier because I use axe monsters, but Tales of Argosa characters. Either way, Yeah, it's just... With the old school way, if you started a character at level 1 and he had 1 hit point, like, you got fucking screwed. And at level 1. By some miracle, you make it to level 2 and survive. Like, odds are you're going to get quite a lot more than 1 hit point. Like, say, yeah, you have 1 hit point at level 1. Say your con mod is 0, so it's just, you have 1 hit point. Level 2, then, you roll 2d6. Now you have 10 hit points. It's a very drastic jump. It doesn't make much logical sense, but who cares? It's an RPG. We're not worried about realism for a lot of things. Whereas with Shadowdark rules, you would just add 1d6 and say you had 3. Now you're at 4 hit points. And then say you hit level 3, you add another 1. Now you're at 5 hit points at level 3. You're still fucking garbage. Compared to the other rules, that person would be rolling 3d6. They'd have 11 hit points. Which, coincidentally, is the average of 3d6. So, yeah, I know I said I was going to follow Shadowdark as close as I could, but it's such a garbage rule. And it's literally just designed with this... Like, it... Look, here. I mean, if you're so fucking erect as a player for this idea of just like, yes, I like that. I like when you have just 2 hit points. Just say your character has 1 hit point and never gets any hit points ever. I mean, clearly that's the style of play you want. You know? And I'm not saying I want 1,000 hit points or anything, but these are accomplished adventurers at that point, level 3 or level 4. They should be able to take 1 hit or something and survive without just becoming a smear on the wall. I don't know, that's just how I feel. Obviously, it's subjective. It's to each their own. But it's a general just issue with... It's a general issue I guess I just have with dice. Like, dice are just kind of obnoxious. I don't have a love affair with dice, really. It's just like a begrudging thing that we have to work with. And the D20 is the worst of them all. And that's why I don't really like a lot of old school games, including Shadowdark, because you just have, okay, I have like a +2 to this roll, and I'm rolling a D20. Like, literally, there's just this entire gamut of success and failure, and it's entirely based on randomness, you know? Whereas, like Tales of Argosa, if I have an 18 int, and I have to roll under my int, I have a 10% failure chance. If I have an 18 int in this game, and I'm rolling +4 and the DC is 12, I have a, like a 35% failure chance. A 35% failure chance for someone that is literally one of the smartest people on the planet at a relatively normal intellectual task. Like, it's just like, ugh. Now, obviously, a DM could just say, yeah, you're smart enough, you do it. But a lot of DMs don't. I remember, I mean, I'll never forget it, because it was just such a... Like, it's such a rage-inducing moment. I was playing 4th edition D&D. I was playing basically an 18 intellect character. I think I was heavily skilled in medicine or whatever the skill was in that game. And we were inspecting a corpse to try to find out how they died. And, I mean, nowadays, if I were a DM, I'd be like, yes, okay, you can tell. Like, no problem. This is literally what you do. But, like many DMs, my DM said, okay, roll your medicine. And I rolled a critical fail, because there's always a fucking 5% chance. So in that moment, I have no idea. And again, that's partly due to poor DMing, but that's partly what I'm saying. But But yeah, just fucking dice rolls. So, I don't know. This was a long tangent. Mostly because I rolled 1 extra hit point for Mithrix. So fuck it, we're redoing everyone's hit points. I'm not gonna do the con modifier applies to each dice roll. We could do what this other person said, where you apply the con mod once at each level up. So Mithric is now going to roll 2d6 plus 2. Okay, 10. So we didn't get much better, but it makes me feel a lot better. And that's what's important. Riddiger is going to roll 2d... What is he, a 2d6? I don't remember. No, he's 2d4. 2d4 minus 1. Okay, so he's... I don't remember what he was at exactly. I think he was at 3. So he would actually be at 4 now. I will fucking abide by this because it's fair. Xandor rolling 2d4 plus 1. Okay. He would have been at 5, so he would still go up to 6. Because it's always plus 1 if it's lower. And then Krundle gets to roll 2d8 plus 2. So he's actually at 16 now. And that's what we're talking about. That's how I'm doing it from now on. I'm done. Granted, Tales of Argosa doesn't have any of that issue because it's always flat. There's no variability to it. Which I don't really ever have a problem with because it's very front-loaded. You get most of your hit points at level 1, which means that you're not likely to die at level 1 as much, which is nice. But then you get a very small static benefit as you level up of like 2 or maybe 3 hit points per level. So there's no fuss and no muss, and it's just like, yep, you get 2 hit points. But we're not playing that game, so never mind. Okay, we did our carousing. That's done. What do we have for money left over? Krundle has 137 gold, 60, 20. Do we want to buy anything? Yes, we want to buy rations. We want to buy 3 sets of rations. So that was... my bookmarks here. Yes. 5 silver, so 1.5 gold. Fine. And that gets us... Whoops. That gets us ration. As far as gear, there's not really much else I can buy. We're pretty stacked out unless we want to move on to, like, buying mithril shit or something. Yeah, mithril would give... Basically, we'd be looking at, like, mithril chainmail for Riddiger, so he doesn't get the stealth penalty. And it would also be 1 less gear slot, but it would be 4 times the cost of chainmail, which is already 60, so it's 240. No, I can't afford that. So beyond that, I don't know what I'd really buy. We all have bandages, we all have bedrolls, we all have horses, rations, I mean... Yeah, money is mostly meant for carousing, so we'll just hold on to it for carousing. Okay, fine. We can finally move on then. We just came back to chill for the night. I guess I'll spend... Yeah, we'll spend... what did I say? 5 silver per person per night. So that's 2 gold. Plus... sure. Done. Okay, new day. And we are heading to... Yeah, we were heading to this area. We're going to try to get to 3221 and inspect the lay of the land there. So we're traveling now. We can travel 6 hexes per turn, or per day, which is pretty good. So we're going to ride right through 3122. We do have to roll a random encounter there, though. And a Kirill holy symbol lying in a dusty pile of rocks, easily mistaken for a wax seal. Okay. I don't think I care about that. None of us worship Kirill, so fuck them. And it's not treasure, it's not worth anything, so we ride on. We then arrive... I guess we could probably mark... Pretty sure we can mark 3122 as cleared. There's really only the 2 Goblin Tomb Raiders, and everything else is done, so we move on. We hit 3221. There's a dry wind from the south. It's hot and bright. The sun hurts our eyes. Dry plains. The soil in this area is a mixture of dirt and sand. Trees are infrequent, and most foliage comes in the form of grass and bushes. Small lizards dart about. Okay, so not a super pleasant area. There's... okay, so let's roll the random encounter first. 2. A hippogriff from 3222 flies above, cautiously watching the caravan. Okay, so the caravan is not us. The caravan is a caravan of unusual pack animals led by 6 ogres passing through the area, including dozens of camels, a pair of zebras, a hippopotamus, 3 gazelles, a water buffalo, and an elephant. The ogres have exotic goods from distant lands and are headed for Hoolgate to trade. Okay, so we're gonna cross each other, I suppose. It says they have exotic goods. That's a very vague thing to say. It's a trade opportunity, so I suppose we'll try. And I will never remember what the numbers are. It's DC 9. Charisma. Rittiger. Communicate with the ogres, please. Yes, he does. So they, well, okay. So the... A hippogriff is flying above, cautiously watching the caravan. I don't think it's gonna ever attack. I can't imagine. Shadowdark has a hippogriff as a monster. Yeah, I mean, it's not too bad of a monster or anything like that. It's a level 3 monster. This is a pack of ogres and stuff. I did this the slowest possible way. Yeah, ogres are all level 6. I mean, they're massive. We don't want to get in their bad side at all. But if we wanted this to be some sort of actual encounter that the players are inclined to get involved with, we could have the hippogriff swoop down and grab one of the gazelles off of the caravan and start to fly away with it. Because ogres don't tend to use ranged weapons or anything like that. The only problem is I highly doubt I can kill a hippogriff with ranged attacks. And even if I did, I wouldn't be able to save the gazelle. So that's not much of an opportunity. So... yeah, I mean, I don't know. It just seems like setting up the players to kind of fail, you know? Because you're never going to save the gazelle. Unless you have some sort of specific magic. I have Featherfall, but it only affects Xandor. I don't think there's many other spells that would really apply here. Not really. So, I mean, you might kill the Hippogriff, but then the ogres have to watch as their gazelle just plummets to the ground and dies anyways. But they might be happy to eat the Hippogriff and not be bothered by it anymore. So I suppose it's not necessarily setting them up to fail. It's just a slight bummer of the result. Okay, we'll do it that way. The Hippogriff is going to swoop down and snatch up one of the gazelles out of the caravan and start to fly away just as we're approaching. So we are inclined to assist, I suppose. Although we don't have much in the way of ranged attacks now because we lost our longbow dude. Oh, no, Crundle can use longbow. That's right. Yeah, I mean, he's pretty good. Not amazing, but he's pretty good. Alright. It's not as fast as the Great Eagle. It's a double near move. So we'll give 2 rounds of attacks before it's out of sight. And we have to do 14 damage against 13 AC. We'll roll the longbow. That is a very solid start. Half its health gone and 1 shot from Crundle. Damn, good thing I remembered the longbow. Alright, it's at 7 hit points. Xandor is going to try to magic missile. He failed. That is a bummer, but I don't think it's worth expending a luck token. That's really unlikely, but he rolled double 4s. Damn. Alright, and then Riddiger with the short bow. That is also sadly a miss. Second round, can Crundle repeat his feat? He does the hit for 2, so it's down to 5. Riddiger has to connect and do 5 damage. He sadly does not. I don't really know what this is even going to benefit me if I kill it, but fuck it, I'll use the luck token. I'm going to add the arrow back. Reroll, short bow. Crit, 7 damage. There we go, right through the head. Well, I suppose that's the question, right? Is the DM obligated now to reward me in some way? Not majorly. I mean, they lost a gazelle. Really, we're just giving them, like... Maybe the Hippogriff has been following them for a while, harassing them or something like that. So maybe they're somewhat happy. Maybe they would... It's the perfect opportunity for, like, a really minor magic trinket to make an appearance, you know? I don't know if Shadowdark has any source of that. Of just minor magical items. I mean, they're all over the place. Like, every book's gonna have something like that. There is a supplement written by Chubby Funster that we may as well pull out here. It's called To Die For. And it's his sort of item book of various little... his treasure book, potions, magic armor, magic weapons, magic utility items, stuff like that. So we could roll something, but I don't know how hefty these are. Yeah. I mean, they're not major, I suppose. Some of them are pretty major. Invisibility to humanoids is pretty major. But like advantage on the first initiative check of the day, it's not too bad. It's a lot better playing solo, I'll tell you that. It's not bad. Some of them are pretty minor. So we could go with that. I think most of these are going to be somewhat more valuable or more impactful. Let's check the Shadowdark subreddit. Why not? We've been on there quite a bit this video. Let's search for minor magic items. See if they have any suggestions. Not really. Okay. Then we're gonna search on the OSR subreddit. I do have the Arcane Artifacts and Curious Curios book that we could look through for that. There's definitely some minor ones in there. Weak minor magic item generator for BX. Yeah, consumables are always going to be favorable. They're one-time use. Yeah, this unfortunately pulls from a very limited selection of OSE shit. This person, weak magic items for 5e. Oh yeah, I've seen this before. This is definitely going to be pretty weak. So if we say a weak trinket and say we want to generate like 8 of them. This is for 5e, so some of these are not going to make any sense. Fathoming Bracers contains 1d4 unreplenishable charges of Comprehend Language spell. Yep. I mean, that's pretty minor. You could just throw that out there and call it a day. This, I would say, is not that weak, especially in a game like this. In 5e, it's not that strong, but in a game like this, Shadowdark, whenever they receive Divine Healing, they get an additional 1d4 hit points. That's a super good magic item. Yeah. Okay, fine. We get the Fathoming Bracers. I'm going to roll the charge count right now. 4. Wow, max roll. We'll give it to Xandor. This is going to be... It's not really armor or anything like that, so I guess we'll go basic. Fathoming Bracers. No, we'll make it armor so you can equip it. Zero AC, blah, 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 blah. It's not going to take up... I can't imagine it takes up a slot. I'm sorry. It's just slapped on his wrists. It's ridiculous. I mean, his boots don't take up a slot. Equipped. Magic item. Contains 4 unreplenishable charges of Comprehend Languages. Which I don't remember if that's a spell in Shadowdark. I imagine not. No, it's not in the original. And it's not in the Novice Magic expanded version either. Interesting. They just not care much about languages? They must not care that much about languages. Well, still, it exists, and we're doing it. So he's got that equipped. That's the ogre's thank you. it's not that valuable, I guess, to them. Or maybe they didn't really recognize that it was magical or something. There's some nice looking bracers they gave us. Alright, as for the exotic goods from distant lands, what would that entail? And more importantly, is it anything of any use or value to the party? Or is this just like, you know, exotic spices and exotic textiles or something like that? Exotic clothing. I mean, who knows? Exotic animals. They have a hippopotamus and a water buffalo and an elephant, you know, things like that. Or are we talking like I said, like magic items or, I don't know, exotic weapons? I don't know, it's hard to say. I mean, usually I would lean towards it not being anything useful for adventurers. But it specifically says this is a trade opportunity. Yeah, I don't think there would be much that I could think of, really. I mean, players might press, but I'd probably explain it as being like, yeah, they have a lot of exotic spices and some interesting clothing designs you've never seen before, so on and so forth. But I am going to roll for this NPC. So I think this is a 12 DC. I'm going to give him advantage, because we did help out the ogres quite a bit. So that's our second kind of benefit. And he needed that advantage. He sure did. One of the ogres is a tattoo-covered shaman named Arut that can cast first and second tier priest spells. He speaks in riddles and enjoys disturbing others in conversation. He has met the Brain Eater in 3729 and can provide directions to the Drow City in 4026, but will not spontaneously volunteer it. So he won't spontaneously volunteer it. So how would we even know then that he's mentioning it? I guess he mentions that he's seen a Drow City. It's trickier for solo, because, you know, either have to roleplay out a conversation or just give it to me. Because it's like, okay, I've been to a Drow City. Where is it? Oh, here it is. I mean, he didn't spontaneously volunteer it, but we asked. And he also asked questions of PCs looking for information on the surrounding area. I mean, I guess we're happy to have a conversation here while we're standing and talking and all that good shit. So, okay. Brain Eater in 3729. Drow City in 4026. We should mark this stuff on our map. 3729 is quite a distance away. That's over here. So we're just gonna write here, Brain Eater. Whatever the hell that is. And 4026. Drow City. Okay. That's pretty much it. They're moving on, so I don't think we'll ever encounter them in this tile again. So honestly, I think this is clear-ish. I mean, there's still things here. There's a hazard. There's a hobgoblin cultist, but yeah, pretty much clear. So we'll put it. Okay. So obviously we're not in the plains yet, I don't think. Well, no, we're in dry plains with dust storms, so I feel like we're in the scorching plain. But we'll continue on. We know there's hobgoblins somewhere in this region. I put it here, but that doesn't mean they're there specifically. But let's head for the river. Because we're looking for herbs. So that's, I think, reasonable thought process. So we're going to head for 3321. We did spend 2 hours doing this stuff and this stuff. Each interaction's like an hour. But then you have to decide how many hours passed. We can travel 6 hexes per 8 hours. Which is 1.33 miles per hour. No. Sorry. Not... No. 1.33 hexes per hour. Correct. So, we rode out of here. That took 1.33 hours. No. Again, I'm wrong. We made it to, like, here. After an hour. Spent 2 hours here. That's 3 hours. It's like 10 a.m. now-ish. So now we can make it to the river, and it's going to be like 11 a.m. But we'll roll... Well, let's look at it. 3321. Stagnant air with rotting, swampy odors. Hot and humid. This is not a pleasant place. The area is difficult terrain, so that cuts down our movement by half, I'm pretty sure. Or it requires 2 hexes to enter. Okay, to enter. So that changes. So now we've entered technically 1, 2, 3, 4. We can only go into 2 more hexes. That's fine. A series of stunning hot springs push boiling hot water up from the depths of the earth. As the water flows south, it cools and releases steam, hence the name. A thick marshland has grown up around this upswell. Okay. Interesting. Well, based on everything on this screen, it doesn't look like there's any of this herb here. So that's a bummer. Let's roll our random encounter. 2. A fire dragon from 3417, flying low, looking for a frog snack. Oh god, that sounds bad. Okay, let's roll our reaction roll. Oh, it's not good. It's not good, folks. A fucking fire dragon. And this is in the original monster list? Probably under dragon. Dragon, fire. 18 AC, 80 hit points, 4 attacks at plus 11 for 2d12 or a fire breath. DC 15 dex check or 6d10 damage. Yeah, this foe is beyond any of us. So, basically, this is here to put the fear of God in us. We need to just duck and hide and just run for cover. Try to hide in the swamp. Okay. Now, we see that the first entry on this list is that a trap. The numerous hot springs in this area create trap-like conditions. Victims can fall into scalding water. Dex check versus DC 9 to avoid. Con check versus DC 12 to escape. So, I'm going to do it this way. We're going to do a stealth check, but anyone that fails is going to blunder in one of these traps. And so we'll kill 2 birds with 1 stone. Combine our random encounter with the trap we have to get through. So, Rittiger's almost certainly not a problem. He has actually... I'm pretty sure he has advantage. Right, yeah. So, since he has Shadowed and Thievery, he has advantage like the normal thief does on any sort of thief task, including sneaking. So he gets advantage on this roll. No problem. What are we setting the DC at? He's not looking for people. It's a big area. There's a lot of steam. Yeah, I don't want it to be too harsh, so we'll say DC 12. Which is already harsh enough. Mithrix, she failed. This would probably be something you'd want to roll a luck token on, though. Hiding from the fire dragon, because if he spots one of us, it's pretty bad. So, yeah, we'll roll it. Now, that's what players would think. I should say. That's what players would think, which is fair. But no matter what, the dragon's not going to see us, because that would be insane. I mean, yes, that is par for the course for an old school RPG. You wandered into the wrong area at the wrong time as a dragon, he killed you, he ate you, and we move on. So this is a little bit of a casualification on my part. But granted, in a region like this that's risky, usually a fire dragon wouldn't be like a 1 out of 6 option for a random encounter. So that's a little harsh. So yeah, I think it's good then combining with this trap. So no matter what we hide from the dragon, it's really just, do we hide safely or not? So she's fine now. Next would be Xandor, who has the roughest option. Yeah, he failed. Pretty iffy for him to do it, but he's also at the greatest risk of the trap, so he'll use his luck token. He still failed. Fuck it. Alright, and then Krundle, who, well, he is wearing chainmail, right? So that's disadvantage on stealth checks. Yeah, that's not good for him. Yeah, he also failed. But he's much better at surviving the trap, so we'll leave it. Alright, so now for Xandor and Krundle, they have to roll a dex check versus DC 9 to avoid. He crits, which means he gets his luck token back. Excellent. And Krundle, barely. Okay, they both avoided the hot springs. The dragon eventually flies away, grabbing a giant frog. Alright, Riddiger. Actually, no, we'll have Xandor do it because he rolled his crit. I'm pretty sure the treasure is automatic, right? Like, you don't have to roll for the treasure. Yeah. No checks, but you have to do everything else. You have to go through the trap to get it. So that's fine. So he dives out of the way, avoids the boiling hot spring, and he notices in the hot spring is a thrice blessed sword. But it's sort of in the middle of the hot spring, so he's not going to get it. He'll tell Riddiger about it, and Riddiger is going to go for it. I don't know if this would count as a thief action, because it's basically sleight of hand. It's essentially sleight of hand. You could give the thief advantage, but I think he's got it anyways. Yeah, no problem. So yeah, and it's a thrice blessed sword, which I assume is in the original book. There it is. Holy shit. Are you serious? Okay, so this thing's insane, but also really dumb. It's a +3 longsword that deals double damage to demons, devils, and undead. That's nuts. But only a lawful priest who has achieved the Templar title or higher can wield it. So that means a level 5 or 6 or high, a level 5 or higher priest can use it. And I can't use it at all because I don't have a priest. I have a monk who can't use longswords. almost certain. It's a very traditional monk. Yeah, clubs, maces, and staves. So I can't use this thing at all. Which, I mean, it's still worth XP, and we might... Nah, I mean, usually you can't sell magic items too easily. But this says 10 XP for the Staff of Ord, 3 XP for a magic sword. So why is the Staff of Ord so special? Because this thing seems pretty special. Staff of Ord is a +3 staff that also functions as a wand. And hostile spells targeting you are DC 18 to cast. But still, against a demon, the fucking thrice blessed sword seems insane. So I think, as you probably imagine, I'm probably just gonna re-roll this. This is like, it's just so out of place, and it's just so specific to the, like this seems like a one-of-a-kind sword that's just sitting here in this swamp in a spring that was relatively easy to get. I'm fine with this being a magic longsword. I think that's great, but that's not good. So, if we go over to die for and say we want to roll up a random magic longsword, we can roll 2d6 on this table. It's most likely going to be +1, but you never know. Yep, it's a +1 longsword. Now we're going to roll for its various features, which is like... it's got blackened wood handle, or pommel, or whatever. It smells like churned soil for some reason, and it's cold to the touch. Its magical benefit: a hit has a 50% chance of blinding opponent for 1d4 rounds. That's pretty good. Now... plus D20 to get a unique weapon benefit and or a D20 curse. There's no guidance on if it should have a curse. Which I think the original book does say... does have a roll for that, doesn't it? No, it doesn't. So it's really just up to you if you feel like it. Just says some magic items have a curse. Oh, here we go. 2d6 qualities. There we go. So, most likely it will have one benefit and one curse. We'll roll 2d6. Or, yes, it has one benefit and one curse. Alright, we will roll a curse for this thing then. D20. 6. If it injures an opponent, bearer suffers -2 to checks next round. Fucking hell, man. It's not so much the effect, as far as like, wow, it's like unusable or anything, but it's just the bookkeeping, you know? Compared to if I had rolled a 5, it consumes an additional gear slot. It's like, okay, fine, simple. Like, it's automatic. I don't have to think about it. It takes up 2 slots. Done. That's a lot easier. Or deals constant minor damage to plants within near distance. That's another thing. It's just like... I feel like I would just need a full-time, like, assistant DM to just monitor that shit and be like, hey, you know, keep track of that effect. See, you know, if it ever... you know... If it ever would cause a problem or do something like that, just, you know, speak up. And then just let me remove it from my brain. I don't know. This isn't a video game. It's really annoying to track shit like that and keep that in mind. Especially if the player is the type of player that doesn't keep it in mind or doesn't want to, like, lean into that as a role-playing thing or something. It's like, the DM just has to have this laundry list of like post-it notes in front of him, like, oh yeah, his thing is dealing damage to to plants all the time, and oh, wait a minute, Xandor, he has that thing, he can't see flames, or he can't see fairies. I gotta keep that in mind. If there's a fairy, he can't see it. Because the players, you know, oftentimes players are inclined to forget negative effects. You know, if the DM doesn't mention it, they don't care. So it's like DMs just gotta, like, you know, be corralling all this shit simultaneously. He has to juggle all these plates to keep track of it. Like, oh, and wait a minute, Riddiger has that weapon, he's got that dagger, and wind causes small objects to blow away from it at all times. At all fucking times! You would not use that weapon if a DM was actually keeping track of that. You know how obnoxious that would be? Like, literally, imagine if in your life you had a pen or something. Like, imagine, just for the sake of fantasy, that you're an office worker and you have a pen that causes small objects to blow away around it. I don't think you would use that pen. Unless God just, like, forgot about it. And it just didn't do that for most of the time until he suddenly remembered. And it's like, oh yeah, you have that pen. Here, let me do that real quick. And his stuff blows away. And then he forgets about it again. And, like, it's just, I don't know. I like unique magic items. I like magic items that are more than just, this is a +1 longsword, that's all it does. I like that all. But I also think they should be very player-oriented. They should be things that a player just can't ignore. I also am generally just wary of negative effects for that reason, because it's very hard or very uninspiring to come up with negative magic effects or negative things that a player can't ignore. Because then it's going to be stuff like, yeah, it takes up an additional gear slot. Some sort of just math thing that they can't ignore. But the more bookkeeping that a magic item adds to the game, the less I'm gonna like it. Like number 11 here. Killing a creature deals 1 damage to the bearer. That requires either the player to remember it and speak up about it, or the DM to remember it constantly and be aware, oh shit, Krundle just killed that. I remember now, he has that thing, you take a damage. That's more and more bookkeeping, especially if you get more and more magic items like this. And they all are, like, and again, if we go by Shadowdark's custom rules there, on average, most magic items are going to have one of these curses. 13, treat natural 1s and 2s as critical failures. That's another just terrible thing that a player will almost never bring up unless they're a very honest player. And thus it requires the DM to have another post-it note saying, oh, Mithrix, she critically fails on 2s. Keep that in mind. Anytime, oh, you rolled a 2. Hold on. Oh, I think I have something for that. It's just, yeah, I don't like shit like that. So, by and large, I don't care for any of this. No offense to Chubby Funster or anything like that. I don't know if the base list is anything better. It's a very small list. Okay, well, yeah, I see a bunch of similar shit stuff. Any lights... Well, you must loudly praise a god whenever you see its symbol. Like, that's... I mean, come on. That's basically just a not curse, because it's like, especially with our setting of 117 deities. Well, actually, no. Well, no, not a specific god. That's any god. Any time you see any deity symbol, you must loudly praise them. That's so obnoxious for the DM to remember and be cognizant that, oh, there probably would be a symbol here, and Krundle, he's gonna have to shout out that he praises the god and blah, blah, blah. Like just ridiculous. Venomous creatures always target you with attacks. That one, still pretty bad, but it's the one that's like, if the DM is aware of that and keeps track of that, you'd probably not use that weapon. That's really shitty. in old school games, there's a lot of venomous creatures that are really dangerous. I don't know. I mean, just... Yeah, I just... Yeah. Just not my cup of tea. And like I said, I generally like magic items that are just beneficial. And if you want them to not be as good of magic items, then just make it not as beneficial. Done. Like, I've never been a big fan of any cursed magic items in any game, really. Video games or RP or tabletop. So if we go and look into Arcane Artifacts, Curious Curios, and we go to Long Swords. Yeah, I mean, there are some in here, absolutely, that I would have the same sort of thing. And these aren't negatives. These are positives, but it's bookkeeping that the DM has to remember. This one, any wound inflicted by the blade has a 50% chance of becoming horrifically infected. Which means that you have to attack something, wound it, roll the 50%, and then not kill it, and it gets away and gets a horribly infected wound. And then maybe it dies like a week later, I guess? I don't know. Again, a lot of things, especially, you know, I like this book a lot for like the miscellaneous stuff. You know, like the various trinkets or pieces of magical equipment, like magic rope or something. There's all sorts of that kind of stuff in here. I think the actual section for weapons and armor is the weakest part, but that's mostly because I don't play 5e D&D. And so a lot of this is just like, this does an extra 1d6 radiant damage. And once per day, you can blind everything within 30 feet. And any undead will turn and flee. Like, that's just... For an OSR game, it's really powerful. Yeah, so a lot of these are going to be pretty powerful stuff, I would imagine. Or, yeah, I mean, just sort of like kind of unique. I guess, yeah, if I'm looking for something minor, this is a good example. The blade can be held to the user's lips and played like a lovely flute. The notes are loud and pure and are clearly audible over the most raucous of noises. It's like a very specific thing. It's definitely magical. I mean, I'd still make it a +1 longsword and everything, but yeah, that's like a unique magic item. And a player can't really be that disappointed because it's a +1 longsword that's just slightly more interesting and slightly better. I can't imagine anyone being too upset by just being handed that. So fuck it, we're doing that. That's the... Oh, now I forgot the name. It was like the Sing Song Blade or something. Yes, the Sing Song Blade. So Crundle takes the Sing Song Blade. I'm going to ditch this second longsword then, and we'll just convert this to the Sing Song Blade. Base weapon is a longsword, blah, 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 and it's a magic item. Effects. This is going to be plus... is there a way to just do... I guess it's two separate things. Weapon attack roll bonus and weapon damage bonus. Sing Song Blade +1. Okay. So now with that equipped, he has +7. Oh my god. 4 from strength, 2 from weapon mastery because he's level 2, and +1 from the longsword. He has +7 to attack for 1d8 +3. He's monstrous now. And he has 19 AC and 16 hit points. Crundle is the fucking man. And it is possible for a level 2 fighter to have 16 hit points, so we're not breaking any rules there. It is very possible. It just would be a pretty good roll with +2 con. You'd have to max roll first level to 10, and then roll a 6 on the second level, but it's doable. Yeah, so he's pretty good. And we get 3 XP, I think, based on what they said for awarding XP. Magic Sword, that's what this is. That's 3 XP. So Krundle goes to 14, Mithrix goes to 7, Xandor to 15, Riddiger to 14. Excellent. All right. Next would be a combat encounter. So if we want to keep going down the list, we have to handle this. And that means either fighting the giant frogs or avoiding them. And I think if you succeed on the check, you can choose to avoid the battle and leave the hex instead. So that suggests then that it's a mandatory thing. Because it doesn't say you can bypass it and go to the next one on the list. It says you can leave the hex. So it sounds like it's a mandatory thing after you get the previous one. So maybe in the hot spring, where we get this thrice blessed sword, these giant frogs are approaching silently underwater. So we could roll to avoid it, but we don't want to. We want to stay in the hex because there's more goodies here. We're trying to clear out every hex, baby. So how many frogs are there? 3 of them. Their intentions are clear. They're trying to kill and eat us. They were hiding from the fire dragon, and now they're going to eat us. So there's 3 giant frogs. And here's where we get into the whole Shadowdark surprise perception rules, blah, 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 that I'm never quite clear on compared to Tales of Argosa. It pretty much just says that yeah, okay, I think it's a wisdom check. We will give it to Riddiger because he was getting the sword, so he's the most likely to notice. His wisdom's not great, but we'll give it to him. Yeah, I like DC 12 as a general baseline. They are giant frogs, so they can't be that fucking stealthy. Unless Axe tells me that they're especially stealthy. They are naturally stealthy. Okay, fine. We'll give them a 15 then. He has to get 15 or higher on this whiz check. He does. He notices them. He's alert. That was good, because otherwise he'd get fucking ambushed by 3 of them with advantage. And that would not be pleasant. So he notices 3 giant frogs moving in the water, and he's going to leap backward, throw the sword to Krundle, and we prepare for a fight as the frogs burst out of the swampy hot spring. Alright. They're level 2, they're not too bad, but 10 hit points each. They can tongue to pull a creature in and do +2 attack for 1d6 damage. This shouldn't be too bad for Krundle, I would imagine. Let's roll initiative. Riddiger, do it up. That's terrible. And we rolled a 6. They are going to roll a 11. They go first. They're going to try to pull stuff in. They're going to pull everybody but Krundle because he looks the scariest. So, because they all get a free tongue attack. Otherwise, if they miss the tongue, they will move in. So against Riddiger, he has to roll a DC 12 Dex check. He succeeds. Xandor, DC 12 Dex check. Fail. And Mithrix. Fail. So Riddiger dodges the tongue. The frog's going to just waddle over to him to try to bite him. And the other 2 are now, like, sort of in the water. They've been pulled in. They're in melee. And all 3 of them +2 on the rolls. Okay. Against Mithrix, that is a miss. Against Riddiger, crit. And against Xandor, that is a hit, unfortunately. Okay, so crits in Shadowdark. Double the damage dice. Great. Riddiger has 4 hit points, by the way. Almost certainly did. Alright, well, it was nice while it lasted, I suppose. 2d6 on Riddiger. Yep, just enough. And 1d6 on Xandor. Yep, excellent. Okay, that's bad. That's pretty bad. There's no ops in this game, though, so that helps quite a bit. Right. So Crundle's going to charge in to the one... Well, we don't want them to eat anybody, so he's going to go rescue Xandor and attack that one with his Sing-Song Blade. Well, he does hit it for 4 damage. Could have been a lot better. It is what it is. Mithrix is going to run over to where Riddiger is and use Cure Wounds, which we did get back. She succeeds. She's level 2 now, so she rolls 2d6 for his heal. 5, he's back to full. I'm not quite sure if he gets up or not. We'll say that he does. He's conscious again, which is good. Xandor has 3 rounds before he dies. And we get a new round, which means Riddiger can now roll initiative. We got 11, they got 5. We get to go. Crundle's going to hit the same frog on Xandor. That is a miss, unfortunately. Damn, that would have been nice. That would have been a kill, I'm pretty sure. Maybe you should use the luck. Alright, we'll use the luck. There you go. Dead. Mithrix is going to run over to Xandor and use Cure Wounds again. Success, 2d6. He's back to full. He's going to get up then. And he's going to cast... You have Magic Missile again. He could summon an elemental, though. Nah, I'll use Magic Missile on one of them. The one next to Riddiger. One little damage to that one. It's at 9. Riddiger is going to back all the fuck way off and shoot that injured one with his short bow. For 4, so it's at half health. Good. It's their turn. They're going to roll a morale check now, because they're technically at half strength. So that's, they need a 15 or higher. They don't. So they're going to dive away into the long brush. And that's the encounter. A little dicey there. We did lose a luck token from Crundle, but otherwise we're right as rain. Yeah, having Cure Wounds is... Yeah, it's pretty... It's something. Yeah, character goes above 0, wakes up and is no longer dying, so... I don't think I played it wrong. I mean, maybe you could argue that they wouldn't get to go that turn. That could be. That could be. Oh, I guess Riddiger was also on the ground, so maybe he just shot it in the face. And he didn't move away. Anyways, that was that. So... The Temple of the Frog God. Is that something we have to search for? Not really. But I guess we have to spend an hour searching the area. We don't have to roll, though. I suppose maybe when we were searching the area, we had that combat as well. I could have just set it that way. That would have been easier. Because I think most of these take an hour for something we're purposefully doing. Okay, well, this was all just like right away. I'm gonna lump this in here just to be nice. I don't remember what time of day it was. It was like 11 or something, so we'll spend an hour then searching the area. And we come across a temple. A partially submerged dungeon is all that remains of an ancient temple built by bullywugs. That's a name I haven't heard in a while. They fled the area decades ago, and the catacombs beneath the temple were occupied by a necromancer that raised 3d6 of their buried dead as bullywug zombies. Treat as bullywugs with the undead trait, immune to morale checks. The necromancer's quarters are hidden deep in the dungeon and protected by 2 cunning shadows. Alright, so they're basically telling us everything we need to know, right? There's 3d6 bullywug zombies, which are literally just bullywugs with the undead trait, which I don't really agree with, because I think there's a bit more that changes when they become a zombie. They shouldn't really be as agile as a bullywug. Oh, right, that's an original thing. Well, it's not original, but he added it. Bullywugs. They have 15 AC, 10 hit points, spear +1, 1d6 plus poison, DC 15 con check or sleep for 1d6 rounds, and their short bow +2, 1d6 plus poison. They have +2 dex. See, I don't agree with a lot of that. Technically, I would probably lean towards using the zombie stat block from Axe, in which case, really, the only thing they get is the hit dice of what they had in life, plus 1 additional hit dice. They have 10 hit points, so really, yeah, they're level 2, so they'd have 2 hit dice, so they'd have 3 as zombies, and be immune to morale checks. But otherwise, they would be zombies, which are... Well, okay, so 11 AC, but they are wearing leather armor, so I'll give them that. So they have 13 AC. And I guess they do technically use weapons, but not their short bows, but I'll let them keep the spear. And then the rest of the stats, I would, yeah, I mean, they'd be adjusted. They wouldn't have +2 dex. They'd be clumsy. So they'd actually have like -2 dex. Alright, that's all well and good, though. How are we meant to run this? Well, I think at the start of the book, he advises perhaps just using the Shadowdark method of generating a dungeon, which involves taking actual physical dice and dropping them onto a blank sheet of paper and then drawing out the dungeon. I will never do that, partly because we're recording this digitally, and that's just not going to work. I'm not going to set up a camera and then I have to like scan it or take a pic. Like, it's just, no, we're not going to do that. So the alternative is we could go with Don John and just go to like D20 fantasy random dungeon generator, and we could say that it's a level, it doesn't really matter, we're probably not going to populate it really, and say that it's a very small area because that's small enough. We could make it all sorts of different shapes, like a cross shape or something. I don't know what peripheral egress is. Scattered layout, small rooms, and remove all the dead ends. Yeah, that's fine. And this is the preview. That's still pretty big. There's no way to make that smaller, really, unless you can go custom. In which case, I don't even know if that'll work. Oh, there you go. And that would be your dungeon. It's a pretty nonsensical one. It's certainly not anything designed by a human mind. And yeah, I mean, the problem with this is like it's already populated with various things, including traps and stuff, and monster enemies, things like that. A lot of And then it has a wandering monster table it gives you, which includes dark mantles, goblins, troglodytes, centipedes. You know, the usual stuff. It's just going to be a big mishmash that doesn't really match a theme. I do think that probably not far off in the future, like with an LLM and a dedicated thing, you'll probably be able to generate much more like thematic, interesting, cohesive dungeons automatically. But I don't know if we're there yet. I mean, this is pretty good if you just, yeah, give me a fucking random dungeon. I don't care. But for us, you know, we need something a bit more thematic. The real answer, of course, is you don't need any map whatsoever. Really, we don't need anything. It's an ancient temple. All we know is that we're fighting 3d6 bullywug zombies, and then at the end, we're fighting 2 shadows. That's really the whole point of it. I mean, there could be traps, but there really doesn't need to be traps. I mean, I don't think it's unreasonable for him to have traps, but also he probably just assumed it's a pretty hidden place and there's a lot of bullywug zombies. He's probably felt pretty safe without... He's a necromancer, so he's not really going to set up, like, pit traps or something like, you know. So I could see there not being any traps. So really it's just a question of how many bullywug zombies are there and how many do I have to fight in each room. Now that's not very interesting, of course. Don't get me wrong. You're literally boiling down an entire dungeon to just like 3 combat encounters or something. So it's hard to say. But that's sort of what you know, we got thrown in. We could find an entirely separate module and just drop that in here as some sort of sunken temple. I guarantee, I know they exist. But that would have a lot more in it than just 3d6 bullywug zombies and 2 shadows. So the module here says that's what's in this little dungeon, and that's what's in this dungeon. So I think it's going to be just combat. On the plus side, it's a simple dungeon with a relatively simple reward we'll get out of it. 59 gold, a wand of Speak with Dead, and a 4 to 6 treasure result. Which, you know, is going to average out to be like 50 gold or so. So really we're doing this for like 100 and some gold and a wand of Speak with Dead. That's it, what it is. Is that worth fighting 3d6 bullywug zombies? Well, the zombies here aren't too bad. Although they're still going to be pretty bad because they got these poison spears. If I use the actual bullywug stats from this, that would be really mean. But again, it depends on how much we divide it into each room that we have to fight at once. I mean, if you just dump them all into one room, that's pretty rough. Although we do have a priest with us with turned undead. So Did it say what level they were? It said 2, right? Yeah. So yeah, turn undead basically solves this whole dungeon for us because they're zombies. If our charisma check is high enough and they fail the check by 10 or more points, they're just instantly destroyed. Otherwise they fail. If they fail, they flee for 5 rounds. So, yeah, it shouldn't be too bad. The shadows, that might be a bit trickier. Those are probably not level 2. Level 3. They don't have any of the, you know, incorporeal nonsense. Shadowdark just throws that out the window. But they do strength damage. which is pretty annoying. I'm going to leave it off here, though, before we handle this temple. This video is going on quite a bit as it is. Yeah, I gotta say, I mean, so far most of my issues are... I don't really want to say it, but I guess most of my issues are more with Shadowdark than with the module with Terra Invictus. But I think it's partly the nature of Terra Invictus being this like big open sandbox hex crawl that is kind of drawing out the problems of Shadowdark compared to what I just did before with Tales of Argosa and Axe. And it's not that I don't think Shadowdark is capable of all this. It obviously is. Of course it is. It's just... you either have to be ready to handwave a lot of stuff, or you have to be ready to make rulings on a lot of stuff. Whereas with my other setup, I don't really have to handwave or make rulings for almost anything. And if I do, it's all very easy to do because of Tales of Argosa's mechanics with just rolling under stats for basically everything. So, yeah. I mean, yeah. So far, I would say, in general, I like Terra Invictus. I don't think it's, like, especially, like... It's more of a pro than a con. I don't think it's especially like a unique world. Like it's mostly fairly standard fantasy stuff, which is makes it a lot easier for me to run because I don't have to be like, okay, this is some alien planet that I have to try to wrap my head around all these differences to standard fantasy. It's like, no, it's mostly pretty standard stuff. There's dragons flying around, there's hippogriffs, there's bullywugs, giant frogs in the swamps, magic swords in the hot springs, blah blah blah. But I also would be interested in checking out his other big campaign setting, which I think I put in, yes, here. The Warlords of Gavardia, that I mentioned before. This is the one he made for Axe. And obviously it's very axy with all the different like settlement statistics and trading numbers and a lot more about the actual lore of the setting. This is not a hex crawl. You're not going to find information here about specific hexes and what they contain and stuff. It's a setting book designed for you to run your own campaign out of and just come up with everything. But it might be interesting to run just a sandbox campaign in there. I'd really like to try a solo campaign once where we literally just focus on arbitrage trading and just running mercantile ventures between settlements to try to maximize money. Because there is a lot of still potential for random encounters and problems. But I really just wonder, like, people that play Axe in campaigns, how often do they do that sort of mercantile venture stuff? I mean, one of the core classes is like a merchant, you know? And I wonder if it's just like, okay, we're in this settlement, the merchant's going to try to buy up some goods and maybe we'll make it to that other settlement sometime where they can sell them for a profit. Or is it actually like, okay, we want to dedicate this year of activity to doing merchant stuff? Like, I don't know. I don't know how interesting it is to do so or fun it is for the whole group. I have no idea. But yeah, so I'd really just have to like read this whole book. So I wouldn't attempt this campaign for a while because I'd really want to get a grasp on this setting. And I guess I just have to start reading it and see if it's like interesting. I'm not usually interested in other people's custom settings. Because usually it's just like, all I care about is high fantasy. I'm just going to set it in Forgotten Realms and call it a day. But I like Chubby Funster's work. And the fact that this is like very nerdy Axe oriented with stats and, you know, a lean towards realism and all that. It might be interesting to just peruse. But we'll see. For now, though, my name is Mang. This has been Solo Roll Manging, and I'll see you fine folks in the next part.